Okay, so welcome everybody, panelists and audience member, to this session called Engaging Youth in Humanitarian Fields, Perspectives and Practices, which is jointly organized by USSG and the Boston Global Youth Philanthropy. And so what this session aims to do is to offer a platform for young individuals from around the world to share their diverse experiences and insights. It aims to explore the dynamic roles of youth in humanitarian efforts, fostering inclusivity by inviting participants from various backgrounds to contribute to dialogue. And through doing this, the session seeks to cultivate an enriching discussion encompassing a wide range of viewpoints. And the participants are also encouraged to share their perspectives, experiences, and initiatives. So this means that panelists and audience members alike are encouraged to do so. And the goal is to better understand the perspectives of young individuals and leverage their energy, creativity, and passion to address pressing global issues. And the session will firstly comprise of some opening statements from Mr. Michael Wang and Mr. Kenny Meesters, followed by 5 total presentations from various youth across the world, where they will present their unique perspectives and some youth projects, and then a panel discussion where speakers and audience members are invited to share their perspective. So please note that all presenters will take questions at the end during panel discussion, and if anyone would like to further communicate or share with us outside of this session, please reach out to either GYP or USSG, where we can discuss further or organize a special session. And with that, I'll first invite Mr. Michael Wang from GYP and Mr. Kenny Meesters from USSG for a few opening remarks.
Thank you. Kenny, please go first.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you all, Tiffany and others, for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the Humanitarian Networks and Partnerships Week, especially as part of the USSG, or the Next Humanitarians. So for those of you who are attending the webinar and listening in, the goal of our network and this session is to provide a space where a next generation of humanitarians can share their ideas. They have a place to speak and a place where we can listen to the ideas about the future and also see examples of how youth can contribute to the humanitarian community and improved humanitarian aid delivery around the world. As we know, there is a lot of challenges ahead of us in the humanitarian field and in crisis management. There's changes around the globe, and it's not those challenges require new knowledge, new skills, fresh ideas. So one of the ideas, the principles of the Next Humanitarians, is that the next generation, the youth, the future humanitarians can bring in these ideas, and they can start doing that already, as this session will illustrate. So I'm very happy that we connected with Global Youth Philanthropy, and that special thanks to Michael and his team for organizing this session. I hope that in this session you will see some of the examples of youth engagement that I talked about, that they may serve as inspiration of not only what youth has done, but also what is possible moving forward. So I encourage you to listen, to take notes, but also to engage. And in this webinar, you can raise your hand. We can give you permission to talk if needed. You can ask questions using the Q&A. And hopefully also following this session, there will be bilateral follow-up with the participants about their ideas and how they can contribute. So again, Michael and the whole team, thank you so much for putting this session together. To the attendees, thank you for joining and for listening to this voice of the next humanitarians. And with that, Michael, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Kenny. My name is Michael Wang. I'm the manager director of Boston Global Youth Philanthropy. We call GYP Boston. We're a small nonprofit focused on youth philanthropy. We organize a lot of events for youth humanitarian activity. So I want to first thank a few friends in USSG. This time we are together to organize this event. We spend a lot of like several months in from beginning of this year, we had quite a lot of a meeting. So I really appreciate a few friends, Kenny, Cato, George, Alex, and another friends. I cannot remember the name. We had Kenny. What is another person's name?
Jörg, Gustavo, and many others.
Yeah, so we had a few key person. We spend a lot of time, like once or twice a month to organize this event. So I really appreciate, this platform, USSG, to connect next generation humanitarian into this field. And also, and has support us to organize separate, event. So we had a separate seminar to give our student a lot of a very, very valuable experience, like their personal experience, how to get in the field. So I really want to, give my appreciation to all the people to support this event, to help to organize this. I just want to make two very quick point. The first point I want to make is, this is a very important topic, how to engage youth in humanitarian field. This seminar is only it's not the end of a discussion, it's just the beginning of a discussion. This event is only 1.5 hours, but we had 10 panelists. All of these students are high school students. They're undergoing like a year-long project, at least 6 months. Some students take 1 year. Some are doing the research, and a few students are doing the actual project, like humanitarian project. So basically, this is a long-term project. Today, each panelist only have 3 minutes to make a presentation, but this is only like one step, they're just, show their, current progress. But this is not the only single event. This is a year-long project. After today, we're still working on the project. At the end of the year, we're going to do the publication. And so this is, like a long-term project. Besides our panelists, we're also welcome anybody, like today, during the like audience, if you are interested in this field, you are welcome to contact us. GYP website is very simple. It's globalyouthphilanthropy.org. So, we have contact information. If you have a good project, good idea, contact us. We can organize separate, tailor-made online event. So this is like what I mean. This is a long-term project. Also, like my planning is next year, like HNPW, this event is already have a 9 or 10 year history. So I'm thinking about next year. We are going to organize another session and under the same title, like how to engage youth into humanitarian field. So we can, have a different panelist, have a different focus, but, we still continue to explore this. So this is a long-term project. Second point I want to make is the partnership. The partnership is the key to engage youth into the field. The HNPW stand for Humanitarian Network Partnership Week. So the partnership, I feel, is very important. We get a lot of students, they have been doing a lot of a small project, but, only through partnership, we can bring this to a higher level. Just 2 things I want to mention. GYP right now is already the former member of another network called Alliance for Children Protection. So we're going to have some cooperation work with this alliance, and also work in the contact with Environmental Humanitarian Action Network. So GYP, we're going to have a new student working group focus on environmental humanitarian issue. So partnership will be provide, like a more tool and also better platform for us to offer our student, younger generation to engage this youth humanitarian field. So we got a lot of things to do after the event. So thank you everybody for coming here to participate. We're going to continue to this in the long term. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Tiffany, yeah, I'm finished.
Oh, all right, thank you. Carolyn, would you be able to introduce the next presentation?
All right, of course. So thank you for that introduction. Now we'll be moving on to the student panelists. And so I think we have, forget the exact number, but we have quite a few student panelists, and we have a total of 5 groups, so 5 different topics that students will be talking about. And as a reminder, if you have any questions for them, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. For our first group, we have Tiffany Lee, who is a grade 11 student from Weber Academy in Calgary, Canada. And she was working with Chloe Wang, a grade 10 student at Ernest Manning High School in Calgary, and Emma Xinro Luan from Haidian Foreign Language Academy in Beijing, China. They will be presenting about their organization, Girls for Change, and the issues they aim to target, as well as the role of youth involvement. And now, without further ado, Tiffany, take it away.
You're unmuted, Tiffany.
Tiffany, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So let's start again. My name is Tiffany, and I'm the head of the Girls for Change Youth Project. And so I'm going to go over a few things today, which is the introduction to Girls for Change. I'm going to talk briefly about our operations and how we involve youth. And then Chloe and Emma will go into more detail on fundraising and cultural exchange. So first of all, what is Girls for Change? Girls for Change is a student-led organization that focuses on involving young people in humanitarian aid. And so our main objective is to help young women in need around the world through donating necessities and providing these cultural exchange opportunities. So there's 2 main parts for our operations. First, we do fundraising, and our main way of doing that is through bottle drives, and we're also planning on expanding to things like other community events. And we provide necessities such as feminine hygiene products, clothing and shoes, food items, and gifts on holidays. And we also provide cultural exchange opportunities. And what this usually looks like is we will have people host seminars that invite young people from all around the world to present their experiences in humanitarian work, their cultures, and other unique experiences. And ultimately, what we aim to do with this is to raise interest for humanitarian work among youth and among our audience. So our impact is that we have partnered with the Rivers Foundation in South Africa and the NTCEF, which stands for Northern Thai Culture and Education Foundation, to provide necessities to the young women in those regions. And we have also built cultural exchange opportunities with these foundations, such as interviews with the organizers in order to promote greater understanding of humanitarian work. So essentially how this works is we'll raise money in the places that we operate, and then the money will be donated to these foundations that will later provide the necessities to those that we aim to help. And so far, we have done a couple of bottle drives, and we have raised around $3,000, which has been donated to provide necessities to young women in these places. So how we involve youth in humanitarian work is in 3 main ways. So first of all, concerning our actual operations, all of our operations are managed by youth under the mentorship of Global Youth Philanthropy. So this includes presentations such as this and the fundraising that we do, like our bottle drives, our advertising, and some of our PR, and also communications. So ultimately, our seminars serve to bring more knowledge about humanitarian work to young people. And through these seminars, we're also also able to exchange experiences, advice, and other things like that with these seminars among young people. And not only does Girls for Change bring learning opportunities to youth, we also try to include people who are not currently involved to gain more knowledge and interest, so we're able to raise awareness for these issues and allow youth who are interested to get involved. So thank you, and that's my presentation. Next, Chloe and Emma will go into greater detail on fundraising and cultural exchange, which are our two main operations, and talk about the impacts of those elements as well. Thank you. Chloe, if you're ready for your presentation, you can share your screen.
I just noticed that I cannot share screen.
Hold on, I can fix that for you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Chloe and a member of Girls for Change. And now I'm going to talk about more detail about fundraising part of our project. So Girls for Change is dedicated to meeting the humanitarian needs of communities around the world with the focus promoting education and gender equality in Africa and North Thailand. So through a variety of fundraising efforts, including bullet drives and teaching classes, we've raised funds support our project. So the bullet drives contribute around $900, while our teaching classes raised $400. And our parents also added significant supports with 1,000 in contributions. And funding is essential to our ability to make real change on the ground, helping us to support education initiatives and promote gender equality in areas that need it most. So fundraising is a key of our project, allowing us to support education and gender equality initiatives in North Thailand and Africa. Through our fundraising efforts, we can offer clothing, foods, and other initiatives, and other essentials to community in needs, which makes tangible difference in their lives. By donating these programs, we create a pathway for young women to gain skills, pursue education. This has a positive effects, promoting a culture of equality and supporting long-term community growth. Our fundraising efforts unite students, parents, and local business in a shared mission, showing that together we can make a significant impact. And Girls for Change provides a unique platform for students to get involved in humanitarian activities by empowering young women to lead initiatives that address gender inequality and promote social justice. We aim to inspire others to take part in meaningful activisms. By colliding the energy and creative of youth, the Girls for Change project fosters a culture of empathy, cohesion, and activism, ultimately contribute a more just and fair world. So that's all about this part. And next, Emma will go through the culture exchange. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. I'm Emma and a member of Girls for Change. Now I'm going to talk about the field trip part of our project. In addition to raising money and donating money, it's also important to be able to have a field trip for youth humanitarian. Within last month, I had a brief conversation with two people involved in youth humanitarian projects. First, Michael traveled to North Thailand last year. and focused on a village in the mountains there. After his village to the After his visit to the village, he found that the people there lived a very difficult life with poor living conditions, medical care, and education. With the personal visiting to the village, Michael knew how could he help the village. Then he collects supplies and returned to the village and donate, and finally achieved good results. Next, Miss Xiong is the head of a foundation in North Thailand. Every 3 months, she will lead some volunteers to the mountains to help the poor families in northern Thailand. They provide support for the life and education of the children there. For my communication with her, I learned that her student volunteers will take some actions and try their best to raise the necessary materials and funds, and personally go to the mountains to deliver the materials. So I think personal visiting for the humanitarian can effectively improve our team spirit and ability of division of labor. Also, because of the harsh environment in the activity, it can enhance our ability to overcome difficulties and cultivate our more resilient character. Last, the main purpose of Growth for Change is to help girls in need around the world, and we hope to continue our work in the future. Also, here we call on young people to participate in youth humanitarian. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that was our presentation on Girls for Change. If anyone has any questions for our three speakers, feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, for our second group,
Karen, yeah, I just made
yes.
a quick point, it's Emma's point. Yeah, she mentioned the Michael. Yeah, it's not myself. Yeah, we had another Michael. He's a student in Beijing, Michael Shi. He's a very good student, has been in GYP program for a very long time, getting involved for this Thailand project. They have been very supportive to our Girls for Change, do the interview with Emma. Yeah, so I just explain this, Michael is a too common name. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead.
Right, thanks for the clarification. For our second group, we have Boan Chen from Vancouver, Canada, and Martin Jiachen Liu from Calgary, Canada. They will be doing a deep dive into the role of student-initiated organizations in engaging youth in the humanitarian field. They will also examine specific organizations. Go ahead.
Hello everyone. My name is Bowen Chen. I'm a grade 10 Canadian high school student who is currently studying at Fraser High Secondary School. In this presentation, me and Martin are going to talk about the role of student initiative organizations in engaging youth in humanitarian field. Specifically, I'll be exploring the role of school-based student initiative organizations in engaging high school pupils in the humanitarian services. And Martin is going to explain the role of private student initiative organizations in engaging youth in the humanitarian programs. In the present, students make up the majority population of youth across the globe. Therefore, engaging students in humanitarian services is pivotal to the success of the overall engagement. The school-based student initiative organization achieved this very well due to its easy accessibility to common high school students. For example, a student who has aspirations to participate in humanitarian services might be rejected by other former humanitarian organizations due to his low educational level and a lack of actual experiences in terms of humanitarian services. Such scenario will not happen in school-based student initiative organizations since they have low educational requirements, flexibility in terms of working schedule, and a low humanitarian program's difficulty level. As a result, the higher accessibility of a school-based student initiative organization causes stronger engagement. Therefore, I believe that student initiative organizations are serve as a platform for common students to participate in humanitarian programs. For instance, the Eco Club, founded by Wilson Xie, is a student initiative organization of St. Paul's School in Concord, New Hampshire. Um, through our online interview, the Eco Club has played an important role in engaging youth to promote and take real actions for environmental protection, poverty aid, and other core values of humanitarianism. The club also implements a variety of volunteering works, including coastal area cleaning, recyclable garbage donations, and food bank distributions. As per the previous example, school-based student initiative organizations' humanitarian tasks are primarily focused on small-scale and short-term events, such as and by extension, student initiative organizations are more accessible to common high school students due to its easy task difficulty level, the flexibility in terms of working schedule, and low recruiting qualifications. And therefore, school-based student initiative organizations are served as a platform for common students to participate in humanitarian programs. I believe that the role of student initiative organizations are not just about providing a platform for common students, which will be explained by Martin in the next topic. Thank you for listening.
Hello, Martin, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Go.
We'll share my screen.
Hey, Martin, adjust your screen, your whole face. Yeah, show your whole face.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, I will talk about the role of student-initiated organization of school engaging youth in humanitarian field. My agenda, first I will talk about student-initiated organization and humanitarian field, and I will talk about how those two concepts connected. And lastly, I will talk about the conclusion. First, student-initiated organization and humanitarian field. The clubs I interviewed were all initiated based on the principle of humanity. Most of them are volunteering clubs. And my project in GYP names Boys in Change Clubs to raise money for people in poverty. And I'm going to organize some badminton activities so I can raise some money for those people who cannot buy the badminton equipment. And how the two concepts connected in two ways. I will talk about how the organization was initiated based on humanity, and I will talk about how does the organization contribute to humanity field. First, interview one. Corner's organization was established during the COVID-19, and they aim to help students who need tutoring on academic subjects. They first posted advertisement and on Instagram and WeChat. More people can participate in those programs. And how the organization contribute to humanitarian field. They do volunteering programs about humanity. Some of them tutor students, and some of them start environmental protection works, which are also related to humanity works of the sustainable development. And why not in-school organizations? There's two reasons. First, there are lots of restrictions, like some clubs are banned in schools, and students can find more best suitable club for them or initial clubs they want. And there's time limitations in school. Like some clubs will be paused or transferred after graduations. However, school programs out of school can be a lifelong programs with you. For my conclusion, in conclusion, the impact of student-initiated organizations on engaging youth in humanitarian fields cannot be overstated. As we continue to support and amplify the voice of these passionate change makers we empower an entire generation to build a more inclusive, incredible, and passionate world for all. Together, let us celebrate the powers of the student-led actions and commit ourselves to fostering a culture of empathy, solidarity, and hope. That's my speech. Thanks.
Hey, Martin, can you give us additional like a brief introduction about yourself?
Myself? Yeah, my name is Martin, and I'm going to organize it. I'm the leader of GYP Boys Change Club, and I'm going to like organize some badminton activities in Calgary, like for fundraising for those people cannot buy badminton equipment.
Yeah, Martin has been joined GYP for a relatively later time. He has been doing very well. He mentioned Boys for Change. This is like second project. This is a new project. Martin will lead the project. This is new. So Girls for Change are our first project, has been already done a lot of things. Yeah, so everybody relax. Our panelists, your guy has been doing very well. So, relax. Okay, go ahead. Caroline?
All right. Thank you. That was our second group about the role of student organizations in engaging youth. And then for our third group, we'll welcome Connor Mee from Carnot Secondary School in Ottawa, Canada. And Connor will be presenting on youth involvement in the preservation of Indigenous languages through education. And he will be speaking on the importance of its role for this marginalized group.
Thank you for that introduction, Caroline. Okay, it loaded. So, my name's Connor, and I am in grade 10 in Colonel School in Ottawa, Canada, and I will be presenting my presentation on involving youth in the preservation of Indigenous languages through education. So in the previous presentations, we looked at the role of local policies involving youth in humanitarian fields in a more general sense. And now I would like to zoom in on a particular humanitarian issue, which is the preservation of Indigenous languages, and discuss how certain policies, strategies, and the role of the education system can engage youth in this humanitarian field, as well as lessons we can take away from this case study. Okay, so for some background information, I live in Canada where 2/3 of Indigenous languages are endangered. And while I'll be looking at this humanitarian issue from the lens of a Canadian, it is also important in different parts of the world, as the disappearance of a language implicates the disappearance of a culture and identity that is integral to Indigenous peoples. And the issue is also one of the negative effects of colonization. For example, the effects of the Indian Act in Canada, which had prohibited Indigenous people from speaking their own language. And so I'll be exploring how we can involve youth in humanitarian fields through this issue of preserving Indigenous languages and through the case study of Ottawa, the capital city of Canada in the province of Ontario, which is where I live. So how are youth in Ottawa involved in the preservation of Indigenous languages through policies and efforts of the education system? My research included an investigation of policies, interviewing school coordinators, experts, and community members. And I also studied Inuktitut, an Inuit language of Canada, which is also one of the most widely spoken Indigenous languages in my region. Now I'll be going over the key takeaways of increasing success in involving youth in humanitarian fields as demonstrated in this case study through my research. So first, let's talk about the role of the education system. Education raises awareness and advocacy. For example, Ontario requires education about Indigenous cultures and issues in high school, history and English classes. And education policies in Ottawa, of the Ottawa School Board, include allowing knowledge of the language Inuktitut to replace a mandatory French credit. And success in educating students in Indigenous languages is crucial, as these students will pass the knowledge down to future generations, contributing to the revitalization of the language. And secondly, the importance of advocacy. Currently, a major challenge that the Ottawa School Board is facing in providing Indigenous language education to youth is funding from the Ontario Ministry of Education, as well as finding fluent Indigenous language speakers and experts who are willing to teach their language. Thus, the only solution is advocacy and reaching out on the part of youth and educators to secure these resources.
Hey, Connor, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, please, it's better slow down a little bit. You talk too fast.
Okay, sorry.
Slow down. Yeah, very well. You have been doing very well. Yeah, slow down a little bit.
Okay, then now I'll talk about immersive experiences for the youth. So it is important to engage youth firsthand in humanitarian fields, which gets them interested and actively involved. For example, this has been achieved through interactive summer camps and night school for the youth as hosted by the school board, and also non-Indigenous youth are encouraged to attend Indigenous events to get involved. Now, finally, let's talk about collaborative efforts. So huge efforts on the part of youth, educators, language speakers, language specialists, community members, and school board officials work together. And this is necessary involving youth in the preservation of Indigenous languages. So how do we begin tackling the humanitarian issue? The Ottawa School Board takes the approach of tackling the most pertinent and pressing aspects of the issue first, focusing language education and revitalization on languages spoken most widely in this area, which are Algonquin and Inuktitut, and focusing on educating Indigenous students first, since these are the ones most directly affected by the issue, and this is to broaden their impact with limited resources. Non-Indigenous youth can also get involved, as I mentioned earlier, by building relationships with Indigenous communities and students and attend community-wide events, Indigenous events open to everyone. Thank you for your attention.
Michael, sorry, before we continue, I just saw in the chat, it was from a while ago, so apologies, but there was a question for the Girls for Change. I'm not sure if you want to answer that now or if you want to wait until later.
So how about let's wait until all the presentation complete, so we can answer the question. Take more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Tiffany, Caroline. We start. Continue.
Tiffany, would you like to take it over from
So
here?
Wilson will be next, right?
Yeah, of course. So the next presentation that we're going to have is by Wilson Schiff from Concord, New Hampshire. And so he'll talk about the role of local governments and its policies in engaging youth in humanitarian fields. Take it away, Wilson.
Yeah. So Mr. Wang, are you able to share the screen, or because somehow my sharing screen button, if I press it, I would show no video. So
Caroline, do you have Wilson's PPT?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't think I see your PowerPoint in the folder.
Wilson, I'm in China right now, so I cannot use my PC. Can you share
okay,
yourself?
Okay. Yeah, I can share my screen, but maybe you guys won't be able to see me. I don't know how that works, but yeah, because I'm on an iPad right now.
Oh, it's okay. We can see you when when you share screen. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Or if it's more convenient, that works.
Oh, can you guys see me now?
Yeah, we can see this. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Wilson, and I am a sophomore at St. Paul's School in Concord, New Hampshire. So Steven, another student, partnered with me for this presentation, but since he couldn't make it today, I will be covering his part as well. So today, I will be covering local government's role in engaging youths in humanitarian fields. So first, I want to start by re-emphasizing a broader question, and that is, why is engaging youth important, and why does governmental advocacy matter? Engaging youth is very important because young people often bring a unique perspective, energy, and enthusiasm to persist in and achieve goals because of their ability to think creatively and their willingness to take risks. Nonetheless, despite these benefits, youths often lack resources, opportunities, and experiences. This is where governmental action can come in. Local governments can best unleash the potential of youths by providing them with access to information and resources, providing mentorship and guidance, building networks, investing in skills development, creating chances for youth participation, and offering opportunities for youths to share their voices. Many local governments are already taking initiatives to engage youths in fields. Let's specifically look at Boston as an example for today. So Boston's Youth Engagement and Employment Department offers young people resources, experiences, and job opportunities. As part of Mayor Wu's commitment to youth development, the program has been expanded to include 6,000 job opportunities, giving the youths a network to connect to jobs that they are interested in. Here on the bottom left are some statistics for this program. Many cities across the country, like the cities of Philadelphia and Houston, also strive to engage youths in policies and offer them opportunities. Next, I want to cover the actual engagements of youth in humanitarian fields within Boston. So I'll be going over 3 successful youth-led humanitarian projects in Boston, their impacts on youth engagement and local communities, and the effectiveness of these initiatives. So first up is the Boston Youth Organizing Project, or the BYOP. They are an organization led by young individuals launching a campaign advocating for improved resources for homeless youth in Boston. Through their advocacy efforts, BYOP successfully raises awareness about the challenges faced by homeless youth and contributes to the policy changes that aim at improving support services and resources for those homeless youths. Next up is the Youth Action Coalition, so otherwise known as the YAC. So they are an organization that engage young people in arts-based projects focused on social justice and community development. Their projects spark conversations, raise awareness, and empower young people to address social issues through artistic expression, fostering community engagement and positive change in the community. Finally, there is teen empowerment. Teen empowerment empowers young people to become agents of change in the community through leadership development and activism. Their initiatives is contributing to reducing violence, increasing community cohesion, and enhancing youth's voice, participation, and decision-making processes. Well, as you can see here, when youths are given the resources and the guidance they need, they can do wonderful things and make great impacts. Well, to end off my presentation, here are some recommendations for enhancing youth participation and effectiveness in the humanitarian fields. These include people fostering collaborations and partnerships with the local governments, providing training and skill development in the community, and last but not least, and the most importantly, recognizing and celebrating these youth contributions so there will be more widespread awareness and fundings to help support the causes they are fighting for. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Wilson, for that presentation. Next, we'll have our final presentation, which is by Carolyn Song and Lucy Zhang from Boston in the United States, and they'll be talking about youth in AAPI cultural conservation. Take it away, Carolyn and Lucy.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. And I am Yushuan Lucy Zhang, and I am the JYP Student Board Chair and also a sophomore in Boston, Massachusetts.
And I'm Caroline Song. I am an 11th grader at Boston, Massachusetts.
And in light of the current API month in May, as well as a strong passion for this topic of API cultural conservation coming from both of us a Chinese immigrant experience, we decided to research more into this topic and how youth play a very essential part in conserving API cultures among especially a westernized mainstream culture. So before we get too deep into the topic, we want to hammer a few details down about what API community exactly means. So here's one of the most common definitions that we've encountered online. All people of Asian American, or Pacific Islander ancestry who trace their origins to their countries, states, jurisdictions, and or the diasporic communities of these geographic regions. And one of the reasons why this term arose was actually for a political reason back in the days. So the US Census Bureau grouped Asian Americans with Pacific Islanders in the 1980s for data collection reasons. And now to this day, the AAPI community, this term has been used with pride and a rich cultural connotation by the people itself. However, there has been some controversies around it because while it is great to have a label to express cultural pride and also similarities, it can also lead to erasure of specific identities and the experiences that come with them. So for example, there are conflicting views on the appropriateness of basically any aggregate classification or reference, such as Asian Pacific American or Asian American and Pacific Islander, etc. And a lot of significance come with these terms. For example, the word other in Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders is dropped sometimes in favor of Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders. So while our community uses various names to describe ourselves, these groupings are ultimately a community-based strategy to build unified political power and also a part of a dynamic and continuous process of self-determination and self-identification. So in light of all these, in 2000, the US Census Bureau separated the term into Asian Americans and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders. However, these two terms are still used together in AAPI in the community. And next, we'll share some statistics to help us understand more about the diversity in our community in United States. So currently in the statistic from 2021, there are 24 million people of Asian alone or in combination residents in the United States, and 1.7 million people of Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders alone were in combination. And in total, the percent of Americans who identify as API in the 2021 census is 6.2%.
Just mentioned, although AAPI account for 6.2% of the American population, they only account for 0.17% of the National Institute of Health budget. To put this into perspective, this is over 36 times less what it would be if these two numbers were proportional. This is the issue that the BOBA organization focuses on.
Yes, and as one of the current members of BOBA Project's Youth Advisory Committee, I'm proud to say that this is one of the few research out there for API community in America by API researchers. So currently the BOBA Project is the largest NIH-funded study dedicated to Asian and Asian American teens. So throughout this process for this project, we interviewed Anthony Manor, the research assistant for BOBA Project. So the purpose of the project is to break the historical underrepresentation of API community in psychological and also medical research, and also to provide a bridging opportunity between Asian American parents and children to share how they feel about issues around their identity, such as stereotypes or anti-Asian discrimination, all of those really hard topics that are especially has been stigmatized in the community AAPI. So Anthony decided identified several challenges in the community. So he grew up in Hawaii around Polynesians, and he noted that there's a stark disparity among different groups of AAPI. For example, the location, the generation, the age group, whether you're Native Hawaiian or not, Micronesians, all of those contribute to the experience that you have, even though you are an AAPI member. So this leads to vast differences in experience within the community. And also systemic racism, as well as model minority myth, in that Asians are the best in academics and also most hardworking, contribute to the lack of research on API and also contribute to the silencing of API voices and discussions. So in this project, Boba wants to address these issues. So also they coordinated a youth advisory board to play a huge role in running the research project. So this board assists with community outreach, bridging the study significance to schools and API organizations. And as youth leaders in the community, they interact with current field professionals and share their experiences as API youth. And this project hopes to have a lasting impact beyond the span of the project itself. So by discussing it in study sessions of the project, researchers provide an opportunity for Asian American teens and their families with a toolkit to tackle problems and to stay resilient and to overcome anti-AAPI hate and discrimination, as well as interacting with community, cultural organizations, nonprofits, so that the research translates into impact. And next, we'll share another study case.
The second organization we interviewed is A-Voice, which stands for Asian Voices of Organized Youth for Community Empowerment. So A-Voice hosts many different events. Their most well-attended and well-known events in the Boston area include Films at the Gate, which is a movie night focusing on different Asian films about Asian culture, martial arts, etc. And they also host Saturday Play, which utilizes less used and less known spaces in Chinatown and provides games and a socialization space for kids. Speaking of Chinatown, A-Voice focuses on the Chinatown community, and it falls under the ACDC, which stands for the Asian Community Development Corporation. And they focus on the Chinatown community because it is a cultural hotspot that has historically lacked opportunities. So they aim to better the community for residents and work on increased sustainability. This year for 2024, their theme is food justice. And to do this, they've done things like getting information to residents about groceries, farmers markets, etc. A-Voice also does a lot of outreach. So A-Voice is completely youth-led. They have a committee of 16 people, and they have 4 dedicated specifically for outreach. Also, as part of their outreach and to better connect with their community, they've also interviewed residents. So A-Voice is an important organization that is all youth-led and youth-organized in order for youth to better voice their opinions about the Chinatown community. Now let's talk a little bit about the role of youth involvement. After interviewing these 2 organizations, we learned a couple things about the role of youth in the community. First, youth can serve as community leaders. They can share information, like sharing information about food justice for A-Voice, or disseminating health information for Boba. And because of this, they can help grow the community and have increased representation. Second is cultural resilience. As we heard in our interview from Boba, youth can pull the community together and combat issues as a whole. Youth specifically face unique issues. Boba is currently running a social media study to examine the effects of racist social media on Chinese American teens and their identity, and how this relates to mental health. This plays a big role in cultural resilience, since this relates to personal identity and is leveraging ethnic identity to overcome discrimination. Finally, we heard a lot about connection. We heard that youth play a role in connecting with the community, and because the AAPI community is very diverse, there are a variety of different perspectives. Furthermore, youth voices aren't heard as often, so this is another reason why these organizations aim to elevate them. In light of AAPI month in May, we hope this presentation, through brief overview discussions and case studies, inspires you to learn more about the diversity of the group and its members' work to promote their voice.
We also encourage you to research more into the API-led activities and efforts in your community and volunteer at their events and meet other passionate, like-minded people from the community. And the goal of this is through dialogues and sharing of experiences, we can discover innovative approaches to engage youth and the community in humanitarian work and build a world with responsibility and optimism. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
And with that said, we will now transition into our panelist discussion and Q&A session. Before we get started on that, a heartfelt thank you to all of our panelists for sharing their deep insights, experiences, and also innovative approaches. All of these contributions have enriched our discussion and dialogue and will continue to inspire all of us to strive for greater impact in the humanitarian field. And with that said, we will now open up the floor for questions. So feel free to put them in the chat or speak up. And we welcome any question, whether you're seeking clarification or want to share your own experiences, or is looking to spark further discussions on any of the projects, 5 projects. And yeah, I see that there are 2 questions already in the chat, and maybe we can start with them. The first one is for Girls for Change. In what ways does Girls for Change promote and empower the voices of local women as well as your own international ones? And how do you empower local women in the areas needed?
I can address this question. So the first question, how do we empower women locally as well as international ones? So I went over this in my presentation briefly, where I talked about our fundraising and our cultural exchange opportunities. So how we empowered the voices of local women is that I talked about a lot of the times we did interviews with the people that worked in the foundations, and we also provide a lot of resources for them that they're not able to access, such as the necessities and like the funds that we donate to them. And we think through creating a better quality of life or creating more opportunities through these foundations and through these donations, we're able to empower the voices of local women just by giving them more resources and more opportunities. And in terms of international ones, the main way that we do that is through our seminars that we host, where a lot of the people that are working on Girls for Change or like young women around the world are able to share their voices and share their unique perspectives. And so we're able to empower international voices by creating a space where people, especially young women, are able to interact with each other and are able to share their perspective. And on the last question of how we empower local women in the areas of need, I mostly went over this in the previous question, which is just by providing them the necessary resources to improve their quality of life and also to improve the opportunities that they have to share their perspective on a more global platform. And I hope that answers the question. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to either GYP or USSG and we can possibly discuss further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kato, are you here in the group? Do you want to make some remark?
He's in
Kato.
he's in the call as well.
He is. He's a participant.
Okay. Okay. So okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue.
Great. Thank you so much. And our second question from another attendee for Wilson: are there any quantifiable, measurable ways that engaging youth in local communities benefit their respective communities?
Well, first, that is a really good question. Thank you for whoever who asked that question. So for measurable ways, well, I mean, I'll just share some of my personal experiences. So I've been cleaning the Yangtze River banks, both at its origin in Qinghai and at its end in Shanghai. And along with other youths and families, we've gathered around 10 to 20 bags of trash and recycling. So that is one way of measurable ways to see the impact. And the other way is, for example, simply like through the Girls for Change, like how much money you've like gained and how many products you've donated. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of these youth engagements that cannot really be measured in a quantifiable way. For example, I've been drawing with autistic children since sixth, seventh grade, and there really isn't any quantifying way to show the impact of that. So I feel like one of the major or the most important things is to have everyone on the same line with the same mindset towards solving the goal. So many international issues today, like global warming and the climate crisis, have to involve everyone. And youths being a large population, if they're engaged, can wield really fascinating powers and can make large impacts. So yeah, not sure if that answered your question, but yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you. I see a raised hand from Kato.
Hi, yes, thank you. Michael, thanks for inviting me to say something. Hi, I'm Kato. Really great to hear all of the work that all of you are doing. I think it's really, really cool to see this kind of ambition and drive at all levels, from the practical, from the working directly with communities, all the way up through the research background, and things like that. And I think that's really, really empowering. And one of the questions I have for all of you, I guess, is I think we're all pretty aware of the news cycles that hit us pretty constantly and all the big problems facing this next generation as we look to the future for how we're going to impact the world. And I guess a lot of these initiatives you have are very much focused on this community development. And so I'm curious, any of you can answer as you see fit. What is the role of community and youth-led community projects in making the world a better place? How do these small or regional or local projects really have an impact in a way that you can see on a scale?
Kato, can you
I mean, I can
go ahead?
Yeah. So I feel like one purpose that community and youth-led organizations can make a change is by by bringing awareness to local governmental officials and governments in general, and making them simply just making them easier to promote collaborations, whether across states or even across countries, knowing that the people in their communities and the people in their countries are rooting for the causes. So.
I also see Tiffany has raised her hand. Please go ahead.
Oh yeah, I can go next. But I think like one of the lesser talked about ways that like these kind of like community projects or like youth-led community projects are able to tangibly like contribute to like people's lives is that typically when you're just like an average person, you don't really get the opportunity to like really see the tangible impact that certain projects that are very much global and more general towards the whole world has on your life specifically. So I think a very unique benefit that like these kinds of small projects do provide to communities is that everyday people are able to see the difference that these projects are making, and not only are they able to be more aware of these kinds of issues, but they're also able to kind of be inspired by these projects and to contribute to their communities more meaningfully. So I think on a smaller scale, these kinds of projects also make a really big difference if they're done all around the world, because then everyday people are able to participate, they're able to be more interested, and they're able to be more aware, which just creates a more positive community overall.
Those are some awesome answers. Thanks for taking a critical thought at those. And I fully agree with what you're saying on how local communities can see that. And I'm not sure if you're able to attend any of the other sessions happening this week at HNPW, but one of the big questions everyone is asking is, how do you localize aid and localize support in humanitarian situations? And I think what a lot of you are getting at here is, yeah, you can leverage a local community to localize. You can get it from the local community, and it's very effective and clearly has an impact, as you can see. So thanks again for sharing, and thanks for fielding my question.
Thank you, Keta, for the question. I saw, another hand up from Connor. Please go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to add on to what the other speakers have talked about regarding Kido's question. I think we had two projects on cultural preservation. For example, my project of indigenous languages and the revitalization of these languages, as well as the AAPI preserving their cultural heritage. And I think that in the case of these cultural preservation issues, it is really important to begin at the local scale of the community, because these are the people that you're directly aiming to affect and to help in this case. And all of these communities are diverse, as we've talked about. So trying to have a bigger solution and a larger scale project would be less effective at addressing these individual communities. So I think, as I think Tiffany talked about, addressing these individual communities locally has a great impact on preserving this kind of diversity. And also in my case of indigenous languages, and also in other projects regarding cultural preservation, I think that the future is in the hands of the youth, because they are the ones that are growing up to pass down this heritage to their children, to the future generations, which is why I think educating the future in this sense, educating the youth and getting them involved is really crucial in passing on this heritage. And this can also apply for different other initiatives, because as we're talking about humanitarian projects, we're talking about creating progress, we're talking about improving the future, and the way we do this effectively is through involving youth, which will grow up and create long-term impact on the world.
Thank you, Connor. And actually, as you see, I've raised my own hand because I actually had a follow-up question that very much links to what you just mentioned, Connor, because I do believe indeed that the youth is the group that's going to manage the crisis in the world of tomorrow. And the localization is key because, you know, after all, it's the local community who will be there before something happens and who will be there after something happens. So they're really the pillar to build on. But talking about that, and this is a general question to all of you, I see you're very engaged. You're taking initiative. I can see actually you also know how to run a proper session by yourself. I'm happy to see you're so well prepared. You moderated the whole session very well. You're engaged. You have these skills. So maybe my question is, what does the future look like for you? Does any of you want to take next steps towards the humanitarian community in the future, going into like a profession or a volunteering capacity? So what is your vision, and maybe how could HPW or those in the humanitarian community help you to achieve that? And I can see a lot of hands raised, so I'll just go by order of people who raised. So Tiffany, I think you were the first. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I think like me personally, I have a couple of like long-term and short-term goals, of course. And obviously in the short term, I'm going to continue working on Girls for Change because we've done quite a lot of fundraising, and it's honestly been kind of like a really special experience to see just like how much money that I've been raising and the actual impact that it's had on the communities, because sometimes they'll send over like photos of themselves with the resources that we send, or like just like the pictures of the things that we are giving to them. And it's really kind of surprising to see just how much we're able to give by making an effort, right? Because when I did Girls for Change, I thought like, oh, like maybe like 2,000, 3,000 bucks is not a lot of money to be donating to these people. But when you actually see the tangible objects that like they're being given and the resources they're being given, you can kind of see that it makes a big difference. And that kind of like is what is inspiring me to continue in humanitarian work, because I believe that like as somebody who's so like privileged, like living in Canada, I feel like I have like an active responsibility to be doing humanitarian work and to be helping people that are obviously less fortunate than I am. And so I think like in the longer term, I think when I like either when I graduate high school or when I move on to my career, I'll obviously still be contributing to humanitarian work and hopefully getting more involved in these humanitarian partnerships, because that's really what I'm passionate about.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. As I said, I'll just continue on order, keeping a little bit an eye on the time in the last 10 minutes. But I think Connor, you were next with raising your hands.
I'm definitely looking forward to more participating in these humanitarian fields in the long term. And regarding my Indigenous languages projects, one of my goals is to improve my Inuktitut, which is an Indigenous language, and just getting involved in the community, which I think will be making a difference since just knowing this language is vital for knowing the culture and preserving the culture. And one of the challenges in this language preservation right now is finding the actual speakers who are willing to teach and spread on this knowledge, which if I get good enough at the language, I would be willing to do. And also a goal of mine is to get involved in research and fieldwork in language preservation and documentation. And I've been reaching out to local professors who have been doing this work in my communities and getting involved this way. And I think when getting involved in cultural preservation, the important thing is to just get involved in the culture and get involved in the community and be able to start from there.
Thank you so much, Connor. And yeah, I'm not myself a cultural anthropological researcher, but happy to keep an eye out for any colleagues I know in the academia who are into the languages and studying it. Lucy, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question. I think it's a great question, and it's something that all of us can answer to. And from my experiences, I am really interested in civic engagement and exploring civic identity, and especially related to cultural identity. And my experience as a first generation immigrant from China, coming to the US and seeing the differences, but also the coalition and the collaboration among the community of Asians and API is really heartwarming, something that I want to pass on as well. So two topics that I'm really interested in are linguistic preservation and linguistic prejudice. Because as a first generation immigrant, I face a lot of those coming from the US, coming from China to the US. And the stereotype that standardized English is the only thing that we should keep and we should respect. So that's something that I want to combat along with other people in my community. And that's one of the reasons why I joined the Boba Project and their youth advisory group is for the same exact reason, because they help to share and learn more about the experiences of Asian American teens. And I'll use this as a shameless plug, but this is the website for Boba Project. And right now we're enrolling people, human subjects, to learn more about your experiences if you're Asian American and you're between the age of 12 to 18. And this will be an excellent opportunity for you to also connect with your friends who have the same ethnicity, and also your parents who come from different backgrounds and different perspectives, but also sharing the same ethnicity and feelings as you. So we encourage everyone who is eligible to participate and check out the link below. And yeah, this is really a fascinating topic to me.
Fantastic, Lucy. It's great to see you're also not just into humanitarian aid and supporting communities, but also very passionate about a specific subject or study or field, that how you can contribute to that. So I love the project. I'll make sure to include it in the presentation slides and the materials we'll share later. But this may be all call to action to those attending the call or listening to the recording, is to check out the website and share it with your community. Thank you, Lucy.
Totally. Yeah, thank you.
Caroline.
Hi. Well, I think it's very interesting that Connor and Lucy just went, because both of them talked a little bit about language. And that was what I was going to talk about as well. Because I've always been really interested in linguistics, specifically like the subfield of sociolinguistics, which is like things like language extinction, and then like how languages evolve and how they impact personal identity and culture. So I thought Connor's presentation was really interesting, and I'm really glad I got to hear it. So I know Lucy is like a first generation immigrant, and I am a second generation immigrant, which means my parents immigrated and I was born here. And as a result, I've had like a bit of like language attrition, which means that although Chinese is my like native language, I've like lost it over time. So in the future, I'm very interested in like language preservation, like in like how it relates to identity, as well as like dialects in China, and how like these different dialects impact how these communities interact with each other, and like preserving the intricacies of the Chinese language.
That's amazing, Caroline. Thank you so much. Like I said, like getting more and more impressed that at your young age you all have such a grasp of what your interests are and pursuing that, and not only pursuing it for your own interest, but using it to build a better community. It's amazing. Wilson.
All right. So first, thanks so much for your question. So my answer for what I want the future to look like, this could be broad. But I'll say that local communities from different countries around the world connecting to each other through either technology or online platforms, and then together solving an international issue. I mean, that could only probably be solved by international collisions and all that. Because I mean, currently cross-country country collaborations, either between China and the US, is getting more and more difficult. But I feel like the local communities can really play a really big role by breaking this political thoughts, and really putting in and focusing on what really needs to be solved right here. So yeah, I guess the future that I am looking forward to is when local communities from all around the world connect together and solve a international issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wilson, and thank you all for sharing that. Actually, as Keto mentioned, there's really topics you're touching upon that maybe in the humanitarian community or world we might use different terms, but we're focusing on the same thing. You know, building local support, empowering local communities, building on their heritage to become more resilient and to be able to deal with whatever challenges we have ahead of us. So talking about that, and considering the time a bit, I also want to extend to you, the panelists, but also to the attendees in the call, our invitation for next sessions. I know Keto is going to be moderating them. Keto, do you want to share the next sessions, and I'll drop the links in the chat for those of you who want to register and attend.
Sure. Yeah, we have a similar session happening next week that I think could be of particular interest to a lot of you based on what you're talking about, and the attendees based on your interest here. It's happening on Tuesday morning for Central European time for a future outlook. We're doing exploratory conversations about the new ideas shaping the humanitarian world in the future. And we're going to be covering, just like you here covered a variety of topics, we'll be covering a whole bunch of topics there as well, from spontaneous volunteerism in Turkey to humanitarianism and philanthropy in the US, to looking at how rumor and conspiracy affect aid response and support in a community. And I would invite you all to join. It's going to be very open. It's going to be very conversational. I think you'd have very valuable insights to include in this conversation, especially since you're focusing on support from the community level, which is amazingly how all the decision makers out here are baffled at how to get local community support. And you're like, oh yeah, we just did it. And you're like, all right, cool, great. So I think that's really cool. And I hope to see some of you at some of the other sessions throughout the week, in between sleeping and school and things like that. I know there are weird times. But if you're on the East Coast, our session starts at like 5 a.m. So that's before school starts. So it's perfect.
Thanks, Gieto. Yeah, so there's in general for you, the panelists, and for the attendees, there's more sessions to follow. I dropped a link at least for the session on the future outlook. I would invite you to register and join. There is another one following that one on getting started in the humanitarian field about the challenges of pursuing a profession or a more involved career in the humanitarian aid. You can find them all on the website, but if needed, I'll also share the links with you directly. Michael, is there anything for closing remarks or that you want to share, or the group?
Oh, I'm okay. Thank you very much. You had actually had the best question. You have our student has been very interested to answer the question. No more. Yeah, I think everything is going perfect. Thank you very much for organize this. Thanks everybody, our panelists and audience. Everybody, we had a good time. Thank you. It's very productive. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Thank all the panelists. We'll make sure to collect the materials and share them to you if you're watching the recording or if you were attending the session. And again, we invite you to join our future sessions of the next Humanitarians. Thank you all the panelists for joining. And I'm sure this is just the first meeting with the humanitarian community, and listening to your answers. I'm sure there will be many more interactions to follow in the future. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.